James Bond 007 Agent Under Fire is a first-person shooter that was developed by EA Redwood Shores, published by EA Games and released on the PS2, Xbox and Gamecube in November of 2001. Agent Under Fire is the first game in what many would consider a great little run for 007 games. This particular title received very mixed reviews but was still a commercial hit, selling 1.5 million copies. Although the game is based on James Bond, this isn't a movie tie-in. It is an original story and adventure for the secret agent, starring a guy who looks like Pierce Brosnan but isn't Pierce Brosnan, but I think is supposed to look like Pierce Brosnan but can't look too much like Pierce Brosnan for legal reasons. Anyway, the plot is a bit thin. I mean, it's not non-existent, but it throws enough exposition at you during cutscenes for you to follow what is going on. It all kicks off with Bond rescuing an undercover CIA agent in Hong Kong who goes by the name of Nightshade. Nightshade was searching for evidence because the CIA believed that some research firm was actually a front for weapon smuggling. So from here you probably know how it goes. Bond helps out and saves the girl, and as a result is now involved in stopping the sinister activities of this organisation, which leads him on various missions around the world, so, you know, a James Bond story. Like I said, there's not loads of story to sink your teeth into. It serves just as context for the action and connects one mission to the next.
I don't know how to thank you.
I'm sure we'll think of something.
The gameplay is where things get kind of interesting, because I threw this disc into my PS2 expecting a run-of-the-mill 007 themed FPS, and it kind of is, but throws more variety at you than you may expect. What you also may not expect is how brief of a campaign this is. Agent Under Fire plays like a game in which the developers focused on a bunch of cool action set pieces and scenarios, but didn't build the rest of the game around it. All of the missions are very short, all of them can be finished in under 10 minutes, and all of them are linear, action-packed and fast-paced. This works both as a positive and negative. On the positive side, you're always doing something that is fun, whether it's sprinting through a secret base gunning down henchmen, driving in a BMW filled with gadgets, or having a one-on-one fight with a helicopter. There is never really any dull moments. On the negative side, you have a game that could be finished in less than 2 hours that doesn't really offer any incentive to play through again. However, this is nowhere near as big of a problem 20 years later because the game can be picked up for pennies. The bulk of the experience is running and gunning, and the good news is that the shooting feels good. Not great, but solid enough to be enjoyable. The controls overall can feel a tad clunky, which is no surprise so many years later, but the auto-aim helps a lot in the more hectic situations. The standard variety of weapons for an FPS are all here, and the game is forgiving enough for all of the weapons to feel useful. Also, Bond has his selection of gadgets like lasers to break locks, grappling hooks to scale buildings, and encrypted keycards to hack locked doors. These gadgets sound a little more exciting than they actually are. You don't really use them unless the game tells you to, and although it does try to make it seem like there are alternate paths you can take, it basically breaks down to, do you want to go through this door or do you want to climb over it? There are also moments where the game encourages stealth, but I wouldn't personally say that the AI is built for this. You can try and sneak through if you like, but you won't really be punished for giving up and taking the louder and more direct approach. One of the more interesting features to this game were the Bond moments. These are specific events that you can trigger throughout a mission that boil down to what the developers thought were the coolest ways to achieve an objective. And almost all of them result in something blowing up, and 100% of them result in the famous Bond sting playing to let you know what you've done. Now, while it may feel like Agent Under Fire comes up short in terms of content, it does deliver in terms of visuals. Of course, it does help that the game is quite limited in scope, but at least what's in front of you does look nice. When you think about the fact that this game came out in 2001, the way in which the graphics have held up is impressive. Sure, it's no great technical feat, but not once did I come across a section of this game that felt rushed or unpolished. The environments are unexpectedly sharp, and even though they can look a little bare at times, I was never taken out of the experience by a fuzzy texture or a blocky looking character model or even a odd looking weapon. Everything animates and runs smoothly, whether you're in the middle of the action or watching characters interact in the cutscenes, and I genuinely think EA did a great job with the rendering and animation of the main characters' faces, even if one of them is a fake Pierce Brosnan. Sound design is about on par for the period and has its highs and lows. The sound effects of the action, like guns and cars, are kind of average but more than acceptable for 2001. When it comes to the soundtrack, the developers get a lot of use out of the James Bond theme, which you may be tired of hearing by the end of the game. It also has a selection of music that backs up the missions. I'm not sure if this is pulled from the movies or if it's an original score, but it fits the tone and gives the whole experience an extra element of authenticity. What is also authentic is the cheesy dialogue that you'd expect from Bond of this period. He's full of one-liners that he utters towards any female he encounters, and the entire game is very silly, but the delivery of the voice acting is solid, so you're more likely to shrug and go along with it.
I'm afraid your interview with Ms. Malprave has been delayed. In the meantime, you can enjoy the view.
I already am.
Due to its light and breezy missions, straightforward objectives, and explosive but kind of relaxed combat, it feels like the focus here was to keep the player's interest by throwing them into one action set piece after another. It's a game that is here for a good but not a long time, and I'm not really mad at that fact. Yes, it could offer more content, yes, the gameplay could be more challenging and complex, and while I can say the game is far from perfect, I can't say that I didn't have fun. Will I play it again? Probably not, but I don't regret a single second of time I spent with this game because I had a blast just being James Bond for a couple of hours, and I guess that's all you can ask from a game like this.